To Sebring International Raceway, it's time for the Radical Cup North America Race 2. It's a new day, and with that, a new challenge for numerous drivers. 22 taking to the track this morning. My name's Tom Drewer. Alongside me is Mike Anzaldi. And Mike, a fantastic night last night at the 7 Hotel Industry Mixer. But right now, let's take a look at where Sebring is and this famous 17-turn track.
Southset Bend there at turn 17 is going to be a very interesting bit of roadway, but let's go back to turn 1. That's going to be a passing zone. Turn 7 there, we just showed you down by the hotel there at turn 7. Turn 10 and 13, Tom?
Yeah, turn 10, of course, the moment where we had an incident yesterday. We'll be watching Luke Kendall trying to make amends for that. Turn 13 can cause some chaos as well. Then a very high-speed sweeper into turn 15. And it's all important to set up the entry and then exit of turn 16 onto the long Ullman Straight. Ullman Straight, named after the gentleman who, after the war, looked at this layout of the old Air Force Base and said, hang on, I think we can run some sports car racing here.
We could do something different on this property. Yeah, about 1950, say 52 or so, they opened up here. And so for the last 70 plus years or so, racing in South Central Florida.
So we'll take you through the grid. And from the back row, it'll be Aaron Ziegler alongside Nico Balkazoon. Nico Balkazoon, one of our youngest competitors, and starting his Radical Cup debut this weekend. Evan Wolf will start from row 10 alongside him. Declan Dionorine, who's also a young gun that's commencing Radical Cup racing this weekend. Impressive performance on the podium yesterday, as well as Evan. Declan this time just ahead of his rival. David Mason will start from 18th on the grid. Alongside him, the man who put it on the pole and took the win in yesterday's race for Pro 1340, Mike D'Ambrose. From row 8, it's Nick Pearson returning to the championship after a couple of years. I'm sure we'll talk about him later. Alongside him, Josh Holtz, a newcomer and someone with plenty of sim racing experience. Dennis Kelly will then start from row 7 alongside Valen Venkatesh, who carries the number 19, the famous Cameron Racing number. Sam McDougall starts just ahead from 12th on the grid. Alongside Sam, it's Chris Hoon, who was a world champion in Virginia just a few months ago. Matt Roma will start from position 10 on the grid. And then it's Luke Kendall, who, as we said, needs to make amends after a mishap and outbreak himself in the wet. From the fourth row of the grid, Jack Yang impressed with his pace in yesterday's race, elevating himself up to 8th. Alongside him, it'll be Ryan Persing. And then Jonas Axbo will start from the 6th position on the grid. And Jonas looking to make amends after being the innocent bystander of that melee at turn 10. Wayne Williams will start from 5th, Ben Blander from 4th, Scott Wagner from 3rd on the grid. Chip Roma will share the front row with Robert Rossi, our pole sitter for the Platinum class. And look for that Dayglow yellow car. Wayne Williams, the reigning champion. What can he do from back on the 3rd row? 5th on the grid. The cars are side by side, and already someone just popping out. The green flag goes, but I fear for Mike D'Ambrose. He might get a penalty for that. Meanwhile, it's a drag race at the front of the field, side by side with Robert Rossi and Chip Roma, who looks to have to just ease up as Robert Rossi takes the lead.
Yeah, it looked like 4 wide, a little bit further back toward the Pro 1500 field. Almost side by side going in toward 3. There's been a mix-up here, and that's Romer.
Yeah, that's actually Jack Yang. We've got Roma as well, so the younger Roma, Matt Roma, mixed up in that. And it's the 68.
A Wolf. Yep, that looks like the Evan Wolf. That's a Crown Concept car. Let's see if Matt can get that thing started. Jack rolling to a slow stop here at turn 3, the left-hander here, and showing just local yellow flags for the moment. They're going to let them race down into turn 7. That's Persing.
So Persing, who gets ahead of Jonas Axpo in the 32, tries immediately the switchback and will be on the outside for that run into turn 10. Meanwhile, it's the 57 of Wayne Williams who tries to hunt down the 82 of Scott Wagner.
I like that we're still green here. Let's see if we can get those cars organized at 3 before they go full course, and they have. They've gone full course yellow, and so the racing will stop for the moment, and we will get the field back organized, and that Porsche safety car will re-enter the surface here just before turn 1.
A strange little mishap there. It looked like Jack Yang locked it up, the rear axle just locking up down into 3. Perhaps the brake bias wrong after the rain in yesterday's race. Maybe not resetting the brake bias. Of course, when it's wet, you want to put more brake bias onto the rear, trying to alleviate the chances of locking the front wheels, but you're much more gentler on the pedal. And now in the dry conditions, when you hammer down maximum force on the brake pressure into turn 3, I think too much rear bias and it's just locked that rear axle.
Yeah, and I think we went on board yesterday with Romer and watched him actively making brake bias adjustments. I remember one of those on boards, and so he wanted to send a little bit more of that bias toward the rear of the car for exactly the reason that you explained there. So we'll get ourselves organized here and go for a restart shortly.
So the big news out of that 2/3 of a lap, if you like, I think is Ryan Persing has managed to do the business in terms of leapfrogging Jonas Axpo, who started on the pole in the Pro 1500 class. Ryan Persing trying to repeat what he did yesterday, and then Luke Kendall also right up there. So it was Ryan Persing who took the win in race 1 in Pro 1500. Luke Kendall was on the podium, but then got a penalty for that contact in yesterday's race.
Big winner at the moment right now, Chris Hoon in the gold class. He is overall in the Pro 1500 class, P4. That's a really nice position for him, right behind the familiar spot of Luke Kendall. He spent most of the time yesterday behind Kendall.
The Primal Racing team, and indeed Chris himself, saying the target for this race was actually to mix it right up with the Pro 1500 front runners. So their target for the weekend really is to show that the gold class competitors can be equally as fast as the Pro 1500 runners. The difference between the two classes is just age. So anyone that is over 30 can elect to run in the gold class.
And Dennis Kelly down there in overall P12, he'll be looking up to Chris Hoon, try to make his way around Nick Pearson and Sam McDougall.
You can already sort of see, though, that Chris has elevated Dennis, I think, in terms of performance, because both of them have been slowly moving towards the front of the red in terms of Pro 1500.
Hoon the rabbit at this moment in that class.
Mike D'Ambrose also impressive. So talking to him at the industry mixer last night at 7, and thank you to Sebring International Raceway for putting that on, as well as the 7 Hotel at turn 7. Mike D'Ambrose doing a lot of work with Antoine Camus, of course a former champion of Pro 1340, and someone that still thoroughly loves his motorsport and indeed radicals, but doing a lot of work in the last couple of years and really elevating Mike D'Ambrose's performance. That man is ultra quick in the 1340s and has been a class act all weekend so far. But look at the young gun, Nico Balkazoon.
P2. He's got Dave Mason between he and D'Ambrose there in the lead of Pro 1340, so we will watch that one really closely. Just went by the start-finish straight was Matt Romer. So it looks like Romer's actually going to circulate and join the back of the grid, and that's good news for him. We have not seen Jack Yang just yet.
Good news for him. The challenge will be for some of these other drivers is that they all of a sudden going to have to deal with a very, very fast Platinum Class car, or sorry, Pro 1500 car coming through. And we might be lucky to get a replay of that action in turn 3. But Matt Romer will be carving his way back through. So let's see what happens. You can see back in the pack, and it was actually Jack Yang who got into the back of
yeah, it looks like he tagged Romer.
Matt Romer, and then it was almost a sympathy spin from
and
the 68.
It looks like Romer actually on the track map here is going to catch the back of that pack, and so I expect that he is going to be in the mirrors of these guys here, and we're going back green.
So Robert Rossi resumes the lead. We've got a fight, though, further back, and that's Jonas Axpo and Ryan Persing. So down into turn one, we're watching the leaders in the Platinum class. We wait to see how the Pro 1500 stack up. There is Wayne Williams side by side with Scott Wagner as well, so maybe that's the Dayglow yellow car that I saw. Wayne Williams to the inside in turn three.
No history Williams between those two, huh?
Has not managed to do that. Scott Wagner remains. Impressive stuff from Wagner around the outside of three.
Yeah, it looks like Wayne pulled out of it.
Jonas Axpo back ahead of Ryan Persing as we head down into 7 for the second time under green flag conditions, and looks like the
Kendall just made a move for position there for P2.
Yeah, the 29 relegated from first to third.
Now Luke is staring at the back of the lead car in Pro 1500 as they head down toward turn 10.
Sam McDougall in the number 8 looking relatively good as well, has come up a couple of positions out of the chaos that ensued in turn 3 and has settled in behind Chris Hoon, who leads the gold class and is right in the mix of Pro 1500 as well.
What's Jonas Axpo thinking today after a really nice run yesterday and kind of innocently been taken out? I think he's really excited. He's got some pressure on him right now.
Well, it was Luke Kendall who made that mishap, misjudging the conditions in yesterday's race. And now Kendall goes for a fantastic lunge down the inside. A lot of trust there from the 32 driver of Jonas Axpo, who manages to just keep ahead. But look at this. The person with the big run is going to be Ryan Persing.
Yeah, both of them compromised.
Momentum.
Yes, sir.
And now a drag race and down the outside. Look at the pace that I wonder if Luke is just carrying less rear wing because the pace that he seems to have in a straight line. But now he's in the bumps and on the outside, almost in the wall, uses all the track as he has to now all of a sudden think about defending. And look at Chris Hoon.
Yes, he got a run on Persing, and now Hoon overall looks like P4, P3.
Oh, Chris Hoon had to be very, very careful because I don't think Luke Kendall thought that Chris Hoon was going to take the inside line there.
And this is Sam McDougall looking at Persing.
Sam McDougall has a wealth of experience on the sim. Sam's been running only a couple of times in Radical Cup, had a fantastic debut at Laguna Seca in front of the IndyCar crowd, and now Sam is showing all the wares of a very wily driver as they head down into turn 7 on the inside, defending from Ryan Persing, who must be just wondering what's gone wrong. In the spate of a lap, he's gone from first to fourth in class.
Yeah, and this is actually a really exciting battle here in Pro 1500. Look at Chris Hoon. He is now overall P3 in that 1500 class. Sam Bennett and Ryan Persing racing each other into turn 10, the high-speed right-hander here. So let's see if Persing can pull things back together.
So where's Matt Romer? He's in 18th, so he has made up 4 positions so far on that restart. We'll watch as he comes through the pack. Jack Yang is showing down back in 16th, so he did get going again. So
Ryan Persing's got a great run here on Sam Bennett as they make their way through 13, 14, 15, approaching the runway there at turn 16.
So what can McDougall do? Will Sam be able to defend from a hard-charging 29? Ryan Persing will think that his rightful place is a few more steps up in this pack.
This looks like a run.
You could see some damage on the front of the number 8 car. That was from yesterday's race.
Sam favoring the inside.
So Ryan to the inside, but look at Sam come back now, maybe more comfortable, outrunning wide and trying to carry the momentum, but it is Persing who moves back into third in class for Pro 1500.
Kendall can't shake Hoon at the moment. You know Kendall's not looking in the rearview mirror. He doesn't really care about Chris Hoon, but this is more of a comment about Hoon. He is within a half second of his younger competitor.
So again,
just a tiny bit sideways for Sam Bennett, or Sam McDougall, as he goes through 3 and 4.
the bumps so severe around Sebring, but that's what makes the challenge so fun. You've got to be a little bit careful to be light on the steering wheel. You don't want to grip the steering wheel too hard. Just let the car ride over the surface, and you can see even Chris Hoon under the brakes into turn 7. The rear of the car bucking, and we've had disaster.
That's some damage
For the 68. So Evan Wolf, who was on the podium in yesterday's race, we saw had issues with sort of a sympathy spin in that first lap drama in turn 3, has now found the wall and has clouted that extremely hard. The rear wing folded up, and his day is done.
Yeah, it looks like, I wonder if that happened in 17. Did he hit the outside wall, or where did he hit the left side of the car? How did that all happen? So
with Wolf out of this motor race, that's going to mean that Declan Dionorine, Nico Balkazoon and Aaron Ziegler are going to be fighting for the second and third steps of Pro 1340. And I only say second and third because Mike Dambrose continues to be the class act in that pack.
That's going to be Dennis Kelly with Valen Venkatesh behind him. They're slightly outside of class, but they'll still race each other, both in 1500s. Dennis a little bit older than the 17-year-old Valen.
So we just saw on the front straight a green flag. I wonder if there is someone else stuck, or what, someone may have been stuck down in turn 17.
Maybe debris from that earlier.
Yeah, can't see anything through the shot there. As coming across the line.
Oh, Kelly's getting reeled in. There's Valen to the inside of 1.
So we ride on board with Matt Roma.
Matt Roma following these two into 1.
Roma just riding the bumps, using all the circuit to the exit. Don't want to drop a wheel there. Heading down into this tricky braking zone. Carries a reasonable amount of speed through turn 3, and then this switchback is all important to not rush this left-hander. You want to get the exit perfect. Carry the speed through under the bridge and start pulling the gears as you head down into turn 7. Take a quick breath, check the gauges, and then think about the braking zone on the bumps. Perhaps a little softer as you apply the brake pedal initially than you normally would, because you've just got to ride over a couple of bumps, and then it's down into turn 10. Another wonderful braking zone here. A 90-degree right-hander coming up. See, he just checked the mirrors to make sure no one was going to pop out and pass, and he's gaining on the pack ahead.
We'll respect the fact that Matt is probably a little frustrated to be taken out there in the first lap, but it's also, Tom, pretty fun to battle back and make your way through the back half of the field. We know he's quicker than most of his competitors in the second half of the Pro 1500 field. It's kind of a fun ride.
You can see how much he's gaining. Someone slow ahead. Now this is no good for Matt Roma, because it's come at the worst possible time, and it was that Persing. I think it was. So Persing has slowed. Meanwhile, Matt Roma continues to attack the cars in front just ahead. That is Josh Holtz for Crown Concepts. And so Matt, it's fantastic shots from GPX as we trundle down at very high speed down the back straightaway here into 17. Try and pick the line underneath the bridge. You can see Matt's taking a slightly wider line than Josh Holtz ahead.
Trouble for Ben Blander into the pits. Jack Yang into the pits and back out. But yeah, that's going to do it for Blander. That's going to do it for Yang.
Well, I wonder if Jack Yang has had a drive-through penalty for the contact in turn 3.
But he does look like he's listed out. Like, is that the pit? Is that his next lap out?
That will be his out lap.
His
yes.
out lap. Yeah. There's Josh looking at Valen.
And Josh almost with contact, and now that's going to give Matt Roma absolutely opportunistic. What a fantastic lunge for Matt Roma, who takes a position in the most unlikely of spots during that left-hander in turn 4 and is already pulling away. So just getting out of his flow after having a little attack was Josh Holtz, who tries to come back and just about collects the back of Matt Roma, and now will be under all sorts of pressure from
Persing. Yeah, he's
Persing, who seems to have power again.
Yeah, can't explain that one. We'll have to talk to him later about what that possibly was, but it's a pretty decent example of how things can come unraveled pretty quick. These guys side by side through 10.
Yeah, the attitude of both of those cars, you just feel like something is about to happen. It's very, very tight racing. Neither of them giving an inch, but so far it's good racing. They don't want to turn in too much. And Persing really brought that upon himself. You could see how much he turned down on the racetrack. And I'm not sure where he thought Josh Holtz was meant to go. Holtz held himself as he had every right to do. And that's one of those things where you can be a hero around the outside, but of course you're on the outside. The car on the inside only has one place to go, and that's usually tracking out of the corner. And
because of all the activity going on in front of D'Ambrose, or rather with these two cars, Holtz and Persing, now D'Ambrose is into the mix in the Pro 1340. He doesn't want this traffic. He wants some clean track, and right now he has to deal with people battling each other.
Just notice that D'Ambrose has also got damage on his rear wing end plate, so Mike D'Ambrose very lucky that it hasn't folded that rear wing down. We'll keep an eye on that because, and I hope the team is, because car 60 has damage on the rear wing end plate, the right hand side. It was collected at some point.
Yeah, it looks like it's bent up a little bit. He just went by the commentary booth.
You definitely don't want a rear wing folding over around the high speed circuit, as Matt Roma now has a look. And this seems to be his hunting ground through turn 3, turn 4 and 5. And Valen Venkatesh looking in the mirrors to see a Michelob Ultra car who's surely going to have a big lunge down into 7.
Yeah, I think Matt was hoping this will take place a little bit quicker, but he's having to do some work to try and get around the youngster.
So he has a big moment as he locks up the brakes and gets to the inside, down to the curb. But you could see that Valen Venkatesh had actually seen him in the mirrors, left him a little bit more space than normal. Matt Roma certainly quicker than the man ahead in the number 19.
I thought Valen might have been compromised on the exit, but not so. He keeps his position there. He's got some good straight line speed.
I think Matt's, that final little lockup sent the car sideways and just disturbed his exit speed. But Valen looks to be just cracking a little bit under pressure. You could see that he was just offline. Matt with a huge run now down into the high-speed S's. This is a lovely part of the Sebring circuit. They're side by side. It's flat out. You're pulling gears, and then you come into this stunning right-hand sweep. It's so easy to hook onto the inside wall there. And
job
then
done.
Matt Roma, as you mentioned, job done. His next victim, he will hope, will be
Dennis Kelly, looks like up the road there.
And then Nick Pearson.
And he's right up the road in the gold class. So, Matt doing some nice work to battle back here.
Yeah, just thinking about that, Nick Pearson also doing some nice work in this race. Has kept it clean, a little bit like Sam McDougall, and the two of them have just elevated themselves up. Sam on the third step of the podium at the moment.
Chris Hoon gets by Kendall and sits now P2 overall in the 1500 class. He leads in that gold class, but that is a big pass. He's been all over Kendall for the last 4 laps.
Well, and that's good news for Jonas Axbo, who's now got a pawn, if you like, between himself and Luke Kendall. Sam McDougall. Can Sam maintain the pressure? Here is Chris Hoon now with a mirror full of the 54 of Luke Kendall. So these guys aren't fighting for class position. This is for pride. This is for bragging rights. And I can tell you there's a young gun behind the wheel of the 54 who would really like to show up the old man just ahead. And Chris Hoon says, not so fast, young boy. I know a thing or two, and I can stick it around the inside and bury the throttle and maintain track position. But now, there was a bit of a hip and shoulder there too, as Luke Kendall does finally make his way through. But for how long? Chris Hoon looks to have a run again. on the 54.
Is Hoon's car really slippery? He looks like he's quick down the straights. Nobody's getting away from him.
The rear wing does look like it's very, very low. And actually, yeah, I think it is. It's a couple of notches lower than the 54. So what does he do on the back straightaway? Luke Kendall has been released, if you like, from under the gearbox of Chris Hoon. But yeah, Chris Hoon, really, look at this. Kendall trying to break the draft. He did move first, so that's okay. He wasn't moving in reaction.
Yeah, and he knows. In these last 4 or 5 laps, he's been being chased down, and he can see that the straight line speed of Hoon behind him is very, very quick. It's tough to get away from him right now. Hoon on the inside line there, and it looks a little bit smoother. That outside line we've seen really bumpy. It's not that fast out there.
I think if I was Kendall, rather than fighting with Chris, I might be just looking at him as you're alongside and pointing forwards and saying, Chris, let's attack. Let's go ahead. Let's work together, because Jonas Axbo, who we ride on board in the Tiger Beetle car, is doing it easy out in front. After a tough day at the office yesterday, he had done everything right in qualifying. He was doing everything right in the race, and then when the rain came down upon the restart, he was the innocent victim of an incident that really was between Luke Kendall getting into the back of Jim Booth, and Axbo got turned around, and that took him out of the race. Wayne Williams, meanwhile, the reigning champ, up to second now. So Williams, with clear track ahead, somewhere up the road is Robert Rossi.
And that has spread out, that platinum class. It looks like there's no less than 7 seconds between each of them, and obviously between Williams and Rossi, it's up to almost 12 seconds. So Rossi well in control, Axbo well in control of his class.
And it was Chip Roma who, of course, was the lead One Motorsports car. Now it is Wayne Williams.
We'll make mention of Mike D'Ambrose too, a big lead that he has that is, again, close to 18 seconds or so, maybe more, 20 seconds over Declan D'Honorine. So watching that Pro 1300 class, it's really going to be more of a battle of P2, 3, and 4. Aaron Ziegler putting in some time here and trying to chase down Nico Balkison.
So Wayne Williams, it was a case of Mr. Consistency last year. In fact, believe it or not, he hadn't won a race until the final round. And it was a case of just whilst others around him managed to flail right at the moment of when they needed to remain calm and focused, Wayne Williams was continuously picking up points throughout the season, plenty of podiums, and then an absolute ding-dong battle that really came down to a qualifying session between himself and Louis Schreiber at Lime Rock Park. Williams on the pole, and then in the race, Schreiber a bit unlucky, getting caught in a restart melee, but Williams coming through strong to take his first win and clinch the championship in style. It was an impressive performance for Wayne Williams last year. I think that the challenge with these high horsepower Platinum class SR10s is that they are a pretty wild ride. Mike, have you driven one? Have you been lucky enough to get behind the wheel?
When they first came out, I got to drive one of the demo cars. I didn't even really drive it at full power, but it was enough for me to experience it and be like, oh wow, this is a proper vehicle. You're not going to be able to just give this to your friend. This needs to be driven by somebody who knows what they're doing there. And in conversations with Wayne Williams last year, he would admit that he's just never really participated in a full season championship. And so while he is deservedly one of the most exciting drivers here in Radical Cup, it's because he sends it all the time. He either wins races or he sends it, goes out, bins it, whatever. There's always some drama going on with him.
It is a bit of a win or bin scenario, and I think that's back to his sprint car days of he's one of the most exciting drivers to watch when the track is wet or when he's in low grip situations. In fact, when he came into Radical Cup racing, that's where he was at his most comfortable. It was actually, bizarrely, when he had the grip, when the conditions were dry, was relying on the downforce, that he was a bit out of sorts. And now he's mastered that, come away with a championship as Chip Roma has a massive moment during turn one. You can see the opposite lock of the number 5 Stella Artois machine, and Chip Roma sits third.
sits there out by himself right now. It's got 7 seconds between he and Wagner. It's about 10 seconds up the road to Williams, and so comfortably in P3 at the moment is Chip Romer.
So the lap time's pretty good. A 2:03.7 for our leader in the Platinum class, Robert Rossi. Just looking a bit further down, and it's Jonas Axbo who's done a 2:08, in fact flat, just as he crossed the line. So the pace picking up in Pro 1500s. As you'd expect, the SR3s tend to take a while for the heat to build up, the tyre to get into its operating window, and so it's likely that we'll see the times tumble as the race progresses in Pro 1340 and 1500, and for that matter Gold. Meanwhile, it's sort of the opposite for the Platinum class machines. They're heavier, they've got bigger horsepower, more torque, they're taking a lot more out of those hand-cooked tyres, and so the tyres start to fall away as the race progresses, and that's why you start to see a few moments like we just saw from Chip Romer, who certainly had his hands full through turn 1.
Can you update us on the tire rules in the Platinum class? Did we allow an extra set this year?
We have, so just because of that very nature of the Platinum class cars consuming tyres a bit quicker, particularly as the competition has been elevated over the last couple of years, to help maintain a gap between the classes, we have just allowed an extra set of tyres for those Platinum class cars. You've still got to elect when you're going to use them, and now we're seeing the 29 of Ryan Persing get around. That's Dennis Kelly, I believe.
It is indeed. Kelly running a nice race here, but he is kind of by himself in that Gold class. He's got Mason behind him in P3 for the older gentleman, and Chris Hoon, who is really put on his big boy pants this weekend and decides that he wants to mix it up here in the front of the Pro 1500 class. He sits P2 in that very competitive class.
So Valen Venkatesh has been just slightly falling back down through the order a little bit. Josh Holtz is trying to get onto the back of the number 19. It's not been the best of day of former teammates, because Ryan Persing used to be a Cameron Racing driver, now drives for One Motorsports, but Ryan also struggling a little bit. Topsy-turvy day for him this morning. Was up at the front of the field, now runs a 5th in class.
Nice drone shot there of Pearson. That is Nick Pearson, the Group A driver, and back on board, Mr. Exciting, we're on board Wayne Williams.
So you can see it just uses a little bit more than the track is marked for, opening up the entry to turn 16. Now it's time for a breath. Wade Williams will be catching that for sure. 430 brake horsepower, 380 foot-pounds of torque that the radical Ford EcoBoost engines produce. And an amazing amount of work that's gone development into that engine back at the factory in Peterborough. All of those engines rebuilt completely from the ground up. It starts as a Ford, it ends up as a radical performance engine. And extraordinary power out of those cars.
Nico Balkasoon.
So Nico also circulating. So unlike yesterday where we saw the field quite tightly bunched, everyone's just spread out a little bit in fresh air, which is a nice feeling around Sebring. Obviously running up behind someone and having the air being affected off the car in front does give you a little less grip. The front splitters definitely don't work as well, and you'll feel the aero wash as you head down into turn 1, turn 17. It's really important to make sure that you've also got a good balance on the car, the suspension working well, because you don't want the car to fire off one of those bumps and all of a sudden you lose the front end in terms of the aero grip. It's a scary feeling when the car all of a sudden tracks about 3 feet sideways through somewhere like turn 1. We just saw the leader overall, Robert Rossi, our Platinum class leader.
Just about 10 minutes to go, Tom, and now Rossi is up to his 4th car that he has lapped.
Yeah.
And he is now going to be chasing down David Mason, and so that's why you'll see on track, you'd be like, why is Rossi next to somebody he shouldn't necessarily be next to? He's starting to lap some cars.
So this is a different stage of the race. The complexity changes again. The front runners who've had fresh air to deal with, circulating, now have some traffic. And the speed differentials are big between the car classes and the cars. We ride on board again with Josh Holtz, who has managed to get around Valen Venkatesh. So that was for position. And Holtz now up to 13th overall.
We see Jack Yang a little further back, toward the end of the Pro 1500 class, but he is actually putting in competitive times. His last time by was a 2:09.2, and so that is basically what the folks up front are running. It's just that, yeah, his position, he hasn't been able to make that up since the incident.
That will be good for, we've just had Declan Dionorine come into the pits, so I'm not sure what that's all about. That's going to elevate Nico Balkazoon perhaps up. Now, this is going to be a challenging situation as well. The timing scoring is showing Balkazoon is down 1 lap. That is on the overall leader. At the end of the day, Dionorine is going to drop behind Balkazoon. Sometimes you can be a little bit unlucky in terms of where the overall leader will finish and where you are on circuit. But at the end of the day, it's Balkazoon who's been elevated to second in class, and Aaron Ziegler on the podium.
Absolutely. That's going to be fun for Aaron Ziegler. As we watch Rossi here, let's look over to the left side. Wayne Williams is now only 6 seconds behind Rossi. Wayne has been taking time out of this lead.
So I just wonder whether Wayne Williams, does he have new boots? Maybe Robert Rossi's using one of the sets he used in qualifying or in the first race. Again, 3 sets of tyres, but there's 4 sessions effectively. And so Rossi, is he nursing a problem? Is he just nursing the Hankook rubber? At the end of the day, he's got a 6-second buffer that he can massage. He doesn't need to fire off lap after lap after lap. He can just manage that gap, and maybe that's what he's doing.
Yeah, and with only 7:20 to go in this race, we really probably have 3 to 4 race laps to go. If he stays matching Wayne Williams' laps time, this is not going to be, and that's what they are doing right now. They are matching each other's times to the 10th.
You would think, though, the One Motorsports crew would be on the radio motivating Mr. Williams, saying, Wayne, the gap is coming down. Keep doing what you're doing. See what you can do. Maybe there's a problem ahead. But for Wayne Williams, I think this is a good recovery drive. This will be a big points haul, so he's also got to consider that. It's a long championship, 18 races. And we've just had Jonas Expo go ahead of Chip Roma, so it just seems to me that the tyres are definitely getting consumed on some of the Platinum class cars. All of them just seem to be struggling late in this race a little bit. And as we mentioned, the Hankook rubber really coming on strong for the SR3 cars in Pro 1500, for that matter, Gold and Pro 1340.
Chris Hoon still doing the job against Luke Kendall. Hoon well in command of his situation there, and that number 8, that's Romer versus
Sam McDougall. And yep. Sam, this is for the final step of the podium, so the battle continues to rage in Pro 1500. Sam McDougall will desperately want to maintain position here. Again, an avid sim racer come real world driver. We're right on board with Sam McDougall as Sam tries to defend off a fast charging Matt Roma, who was involved in turn 3, 1 lap commotion, and now is fighting for the final step of the podium.
They are side by side going over the line, and this is going to be a good one if we can maybe get one of the outside shots.
I tell you what, Sam's got some grit, staying to the inside. So too has Matt Roma, who takes it around the outside. Can Sam come back down into turn 3? This is where Matt Roma has been so strong under brakes, and Matt does manage to maintain that position. So Matt Roma, after having to carve his way up through from the back of the pack, has taken back 3rd position in class. Impressive drive from Matt Roma.
What a drive. And kudos to Sam McDougall, who is, got a bunch of different battles going on in this race throughout the race. The beginning, middle, and the end, he seems to have some action to deal with there. So Sam McDougall.
Sam with a little bit of a run coming back on Matt Roma. Can Sam take it to Matt into turn 10? Might have a look a little bit far back, I'd say, but has a big lunge under brakes. Tries to close in on the gear drive unit. And I say gear drive unit because it's not a gearbox in the back of the SR3.
Right.
There is actually a different unit, of course, a motorcycle-derived engine. Again, fully rebuilt by Radical, an RPE engine producing over 10,000 RPM, about 230 horsepower. And then there's a transfer case that takes the drive out of the motorcycle engine and puts it back into the rear axles. Also acts as a reverse gear mechanism.
You can see Matt's a little bit better, 13, 14, 15. He gets a nice little run, as you mentioned a couple of laps ago, on the outside of 16. Anybody, drivers who are watching this thing, who've been to Sebring, you try to open up that entry to turn 16. You see Matt doing that as well. Battling, though, as he goes around turn 17. It's a wild, rough ride for him.
It's not a nice line, though. He's definitely managed to not turn in too early, apexing in about the right spot and getting a good run onto the front straightaway. I've noticed the cone's gone from the inside. There is a little marker still where the apex of turn 1 is. But there always used to be a funny red cone that used to be sort of jammed into the catch vents. It's been replaced by a lovely little marker.
Rossi coming around with just under 3 minutes to go. 2 more laps.
So Robert Rossi returns to the championship. Took his, debut win upon return in yesterday's first race of the season. Robert Rossi, I suspect we might see him at Sonoma. He was not necessarily going to go. In fact, there's a few drivers are wondering whether they'll make the long trek over. Of course, the Radical Cup North American Series is a proper national championship. It's all over this great nation. And so Robert Rossi will be leading the points, and looks to me like he's going to back up a fantastic win from yesterday and go 2 for 2. The last time he was on a winning streak, it was 4 or 5 wins long. That was back in 2022, if my memory serves me correctly.
They can see each other, though. That's Wayne Williams. That's P2.
Yeah,
and so now they can see each other between turn 7 and turn 10.
The gap continues to fall. It's now under 5 seconds.
And catching a car and passing a car in the Radical Cup in your same class, those are 2 different things.
So Axpo's also doing it relatively easy. He is circulating all by himself. And so too Chris Hoon. Chip Roma is tumbling down a little bit. So the number 5, the sellout Twycard, just nursing some kind of issue. And we've got a car slow now in turn 17. So we're just trying to look out the commentary booth. Can't quite see what is taking place there. And it is Chip Roma, I fear, because he's tumbling down the timing screen. So that is elevated Scott Wagner, well and truly cemented Scott Wagner's 3rd place in
Here
the
comes
Platinum
Rossi,
class.
white flag.
And yeah, the white flag is out. Roma is tumbling down the order. I haven't seen him make it to pit lane as Wayne Williams starts his final lap. Roma has managed to get into the pit lane, so that's good news for everyone else. It'll keep this race going. Green. So Chris Roma rather, will be absolutely frustrated. Meanwhile, Matt Roma will be somewhat elated because he will be back on the podium. That looks to me like it'll be, it's 2 in a row, definitely. He had a 2nd yesterday and will now be on track for a 3rd place finish in Pro 1500.
And while Romer did have his hands full with McDougall, looks like he's put 2.5 to 3 seconds between them. So that race is kind of fizzling away here in the last lap. Rossi. Good boy.
Yeah, Robert Rossi, very impressive return. And just circulating smoothly now. He does have a whole lot of traffic ahead, so he just wants to bring it home now. Not too many corners to go. He comes out of turn 13. Then it's this stretch into a high-speed section. Will he just back off, take it easy? He's got nothing to prove now. He can just remain behind the cars in front. There's no point getting in a battle or going underneath someone when he doesn't need to, and you can see he's just being calm. He knows he's got a good gap on Wayne Williams, and now he can use that extra horsepower, about double the horsepower of the SR10, as he comes down the back straight. And you might even see him back off again. It's not going to, though, and I dare say that Josh Holtz might be wishing he did, because Josh Holtz won't get another lap now to compete.
Yep. Yeah, that'll be done for Holtz as Rossi crosses the line here.
Congratulations, Robert Rossi, 2 for 2. That means Josh Holtz will finish his race, as does Valen Venkatesh. And it's Wayne Williams who takes second in the Platinum class, the champion back on the podium. Scott Wagner brings home a well-deserved third place, keeping out of trouble in that one. Jonas Axpo, we are waiting desperately for him to come across the line. It's going to be Mike D'Ambrose, not Mike Anzaldi, he's sitting next to me. Mike D'Ambrose who takes the checker next, and that's to clinch the Pro 1340 class victory.
How about Chris Hoon with a dominant performance in gold, and he held off Luke Kendall for the moment. They're still racing, by the way. So they're about half a second apart, maybe a full second apart. They're still racing, but Kendall doesn't seem to have anything for Hoon.
Yeah, the Pro 1500 battle is not over yet. And so Jonas Axpo is the person, it's the only class in theory winner that we haven't seen yet cross the checkered flag. And here he comes, the Tiger Beetle car, making amends for yesterday. A fantastic drive from the young kid from Arizona, or Utah rather.
University of Utah. Jonas Axpo picks up a win in Pro 1500. How cool is that?
Well, it's been a long time coming, really. I think yesterday he was well deserved of that.
Tom, can I say that Nico Balkasoon just went across the line with his fist up in the air, fist pumping. This kid picks up a P2 and a really impressive day and an improving weekend for the youngster.
There is going to be one very proud father. In fact, the father and son have done a lot of Ferrari Challenge racing, and now trying their hand at Radical Cup racing, and Dad's elected to sit this one out because he wanted to focus on young Nico, and it's worked wonders for the young gun coming home with his first podium. So along with Aaron Ziegler, impressive performance.
Imagine going back to your 8th grade classroom after the weekend is done and saying, yeah, finished P2 in the first round of the Radical Cup down at Sebring International Raceway. What a fun time for that 13-year-old.
Yeah, it's unbelievable, isn't it, really? I've been racing go-karts back then. It doesn't quite have the same ring.
Yeah, for sure. Oh, man. And for that
Bolivar Raceway in Adelaide, South Australia is not quite as glamorous as Sebring International.
The girls didn't think that was the coolest thing.
It wasn't quite as glamorous as Sebring International, the home of the 12-hour and hallowed ground with all of these wonderful winners over the years. It means something when you get on the podium here. Well, it is, speaking of which, it's time to go down to the podium, but just to wrap up, it's Robert Rossi who's taken the win from Wayne Williams and Scott Wagner in the Platinum class. Jonas Axpo comes through to take the win in Pro 1500 from Luke Kendall. Matt Roma, it's Chris Hoon who's impressed amongst the young guns to be second of the 1500 SR3s, first in the gold class from Dennis Kelly and David Mason. And then, as we've been mentioning, Mike D'Ambrose taking another win in Pro 1340 from the young Nico Balkazoon, who absolutely dumps the average age of that podium with Aaron Ziegler, his first podium finish in the championship.
There may be a check of IDs as they hit the podium. Champagne celebration there. Nico Balkasoon is going to need to find himself a fake ID and in order to taste the deliciousness of a podium finish here in the Radical Cup. Cool drone shots showing us the Sebring International Raceway there, and the grid coming back around to park their cars, go into Parc Fermé, and get some cones on top of the top 3 cars. They'll go into technical inspections to make sure that they comply with the regulations. And there's a lot of walking around, high fives, hugs. There might even be a couple of, hey man, what was that? To each other, and that's kind of how it's supposed to be. You get out of the car, you chat, and you just kind of review and debrief with hopefully your fellow competitors who are also friendly and respectful toward you, and then you just have a chat about what just took place for the last 40 minutes. So yeah, super exciting stuff here in the Radical Cup. It is 2 for 2 for Robert Rossi. It is 2 for 2 for Mike D'Ambrose. It's 2 for 2 for Chris Hoon. All double winners in the first 2 races here in the Radical Cup. And we've got a mixed bag in the Pro 1500 class. So things are shaping up here in the first weekend of Radical Cup racing here in 2026. It's very exciting stuff. Our next time around, we get to go out to Sonoma, but we're not done here. Later on this afternoon, we have race number 3, and we'll be looking forward to that. It's going to be 10 degrees warmer this afternoon, so we'll see how that plays in. There's going to be a pit stop, so join us later on today for race number 3 of the first round of the Radical Cup. I'm Mike Anzaldi. So long.